everyone, I'm Julie from Julie's Everything Treasures and I'm back, and I hadn't forgotten. I know last week I said I was going to do the 5 pieces of furniture and I managed to do 3, and I had 2 trunks that I was still kind of doing, so I am going to finish them this week, and I hope you join me on the journey of doing these 2 trunks. I've already, as you knew last week, I painted them white chalk paint. I've wet distressed the edges and the details, and now we're going to be decorating them. So what I did last night was, on parts of the areas of this trunk, I put a little bit of clear coat where I wanted to put transfers. Transfers adhere best to clear coat rather than just chalk paint. I didn't want to clear coat the whole thing because I want to be doing some stamps too, and stamps adhere to chalk paint better than clear coat. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So I only clear coated the areas I knew I wanted, just the actual transfers. I wanted to do them first because I wanted to get kind of the area, the detail, the flowers in first, and the stamps I'll be doing around them. So it was kind of a little bit of a thinking process, but I hope you caught up with that. So clear coated just a small area just to get the transfers on, to get the start of the design. I'm going to move you closer and I'm going to then carry on with doing this transfer to show you what I'm doing here. So the transfers they are IOD transfers, and what I love about this one is it's the classic bouquets, and there's 4 different images in one pack. And I use one image and try and cut it up and make it go a long way. I used one of the images to go on 3 pieces of furniture. It was a 1 coffee table and 2 matching side tables, and I made just one of the actual images and made it go that far. And the reason I do make sure it goes far is you don't need too much transfers. You don't want it everywhere. It's a subtle little kind of detail. You don't want it to take over. And also, if I sell these products, these pieces, so I wanted to make sure that I'm not selling them at a too high a price. For the whole 4 pieces that you get in one pack, it's about $40. So each one is about $10. Now if I put a whole $40 on one piece of furniture, plus the cost of getting the piece of furniture and the paint, the price of that piece would go way up with my labor. And sometimes pieces don't justify that price. So I like to take the images and I like to use one image and just make it last. Make sure the piece is appropriate pricing at the end when I have finished. And also, I want to make sure that it looks good. It doesn't take over the piece, it just enhances the piece. So even on this one little piece that was a $10 part of this whole thing, I've cut it into flowers and leaves and sections because I have a stripe along here of metal and I wanted it to come out of there. I didn't want it to go over there. So I cut it down, and that's how I did this. And then this last piece here, I cut this is the bottom of the whole transfer, and I want to put this here, down here. So you cut out what you want, don't take it off the backing until you're ready to put it on, because once it sticks, it's on. If you start peeling it off, some of the image may already have transferred and you've ruined the image. So I've put a little bit of clear coat along here, and this is where I want to just put this one, and I'm going to place it best I can in the middle, but I'm not needing it to be perfect. I'm just going to put it on, push down and put it in place. Now I've already done some of this one, and I'm going to bring you in a little closer so you can see the process of how I do this. With the pack, in the little package, you get one of these, and this is just to rub. So you're going to go over the image you placed down, trying to get it to adhere. I have a little bit of a raised edge here, so it's going to take a little bit to do, but I'm just going to push this on and then bit by bit rub. So you're going to rub in this over the image, and then you're going to go back and do a little section at a time. Now you'll hear some crackling noise and also the lawnmower behind me because the gardener's here doing the lawn, but you'll hear a crackling noise, and that means it's come off the backing and it's starting to adhere. So lift up, and if it's not gone down properly, push it back down and rub again. And then if you've missed any, push it back down and pull up again. And it lifts quite easily. It's not a hard thing to do. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but I want you to get the concept of using transfers. Some people love them, some people say no, they're too generic. What I like to do is use a little transfer, some stamps, some paint, and make it my own design using just the transfer as a kind of a backing, a starting point. I don't want the whole transfer to be the whole image, because then it would be too generic. Even if you're using transfers, use your inspiration, your creativity to go with it. Don't just put it down as is. So I'm just going to go over this one. It's starting to come up nicely. And as I say, if you find pieces that don't, just go back, push it back down. You can hear that crackling noise, that's it coming up off the backing and onto your piece. And there you go, that piece is on. And what I like to do is, you can use a lint-free cloth to burnish it, which just means basically pushing it down, making sure that it's all stuck on. I just use the backing that it came off and just push that down. And just rub it in, and there you go. I'm going to continue putting on this transfer, and then I'll be back again after, and we'll do some stamping. So what I've got here is a stencil, and I'm going to be doing just the outer side of the stencil, the round circle part. I'm not doing the middle. I'm using a grey, dark grey colour, charcoal grey, and I'm just dabbing in. And I'm going to be turning this stencil into what I want to make it look like, a packing shipping label. So instead of doing the pattern in the middle, I'm just going to put US mail shipping in stamp or stencil to add to it, to make it look like a big shipping label. And I'm going to be doing some more different labels too, and making the whole trunks look like they've got some stamps, stickers and shipping labels on them. So I'm just going to use a mixture of stencils and stamps to create that. And this one I'm just going to carry on going around the edge and get that circle, and then I will show you the middle. Okay, so what I'm doing next is I'm using the IOD stamps, the letters, and the IOD ink and pad, and I'm using the stone grey colour. I just want stone grey. I've got some ink on my pad, and I'm just going to press down onto these two letters, which is US for United States, and I'm just going to push that onto the middle of this stencil, right at the top here, right up, and put it there, US. Make sure you push down nice and firm, and then you have that. And then in little letters, I think I'm going to go across the top and put mail. So I need A, gotta find my letters. I, like, you know, male. And L, where's my L? They drop off quite easily. Make sure you don't lose your letters. And I'm just going to stick these on here. And then just do the same thing. So it will be saying male on it. Push down with the pad of the ink. And I'm going to put that right underneath here. Try not to shift. Once you press down on it, once you've adhered to it, you are now committed. So just push down onto the letters and all the details of the letters. Doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just making it like a label, like it's stamped on anyway. And there you go, male. So I'm going to do a couple more stamps and I will get on with that next, and I'm doing also the same as this I'm going to be doing on that trunk. I'll be right back. The next part I'm going to be using stamps. These are IOD stamps. These are the crockery stamps, and they are what a lot of people put on jars. They stamp them on jars. This one says pure thick cream. There's this one, I think it's lemon curd, and there's a marmalade one too. So we don't want it to say that, but I want the outer image. So I have a damp cloth and I have the stamp and the ink. So what I'm going to do is fill up the stamp with the ink. And I'm going to pick a spot where I want it to be. So I'm going to pretend there's a stamp going here. And just press down, getting all the detail. I'm not worried about it saying fresh, pure cream, but it's okay if it comes on it, not a big deal. I want the outside more than anything because I want it to make it look like it's a label from shipping over the years. So pull that up, and while the ink is still wet, I'm going to go in. And then I'm just going to rub away with the damp cloth where it says cream. You can use a baby wipe to do this too, and also dairy. I'm just going to rub that away too. So there we go, we have that next. And in place, I am going to be using, I picked this up today, so I still haven't used it. I picked this up from Walmart, and I believe these letters are going to be perfect, and I'm going to go back in with the ink and stamp a word in place where it used to say thick cream. I'm going to put something more of a city, London, Paris, Rome, Sydney, or a country. I'm just going to stamp that in next. So I have my letters now. It says Paris. I'm going to try my best to do it. I'm going to do 3 and then 2. So I'm going to put these 3 letters. I'm just going to push them into the stamp. Just getting it all onto the letters. And then I'm going to put it onto right in the middle here. And then I am going to do the next little bit, which for the Paris. And then it's going to say Paris on it instead of saying cream on it. Because as I say, I'm trying to turn these little stamps, these crockery stamps, into what looks like shipping labels. So there it says Paris. And then I think what I'm going to do on the top is I'm going to pick some numbers and do a date. So that's here. I'm going to do 1, 9 for 19, and I'm going to put it at the top. So 19 here, and then I'm going to put, let's see, 1, 8. So the date I'm putting on is a year, and it's going to say 1918. There you go, and put that on. So I'm going to then go around any parts with my wet cloth and just wipe away anything I'm not happy with, distress it a little bit, and then it's a little thick there too. And it basically says, very roughly, 1918 Paris, and instead of saying fresh cream. So I'm going to do a couple of different stamps in different areas over these trunks to make them look like they've been shipped all over the place, and that's how I create those. So I get the crockery stamps from IOD stamps, the ink, and then I got these letters, as I say, I just got them. They were perfect size, that's why I picked them up. Very cheap from Walmart, and you could use stencils too. And just to use a damp cloth while the ink is still wet, wipe away any words you don't want, and then in their place put a different words. And make sure you put all your little stamps and everything into a Ziploc so you don't lose them. So I'm going to keep going with that, and then we'll get up to the finishing on these. It'll be nice and pretty, and then we'll be ready for finishing. Alright, these two are finished. Well, not finished, ways to go yet. But they're ready for clear coat. I'm just going to add a basic matte clear coat, and after that has dried, which takes minimum of 4 hours. I like to leave it overnight to dry, but minimum 4 hours. Then I will go back in with some black wax and antique wax and do some highlights, lowlights, and age both pieces to give it more interest. So right now I'm just going to put the clear coat on both pieces everywhere and let that dry, and while it's drying I'm going to go get some lunch. So the last part, last but not least, as this is actually my favourite part. This is when I add on the texture, the age, the shadowing, the character to finish the piece. I find the piece just looks almost naked till I've done this. So not only does, when I finish this part, the piece is done, it's finished, and it just pops amazingly, I also find doing this so relaxing and rewarding. It is my favourite thing to do. So I've shown it many times. I'm sure you don't need to see me do it again, but I love to add this on. It is the last part of finishing any part, and it's using wax. On this I've done clear coat everywhere, and I'm going to be using some wax, using black wax and antique brown wax, and I put it on pretty heavy, and I like to distress quite heavily on these trunks. They're old. Even with the clear coat and the white paint, you do get some yellowing. You can work hard on putting primers and spending time try and make it not yellow, but as soon as you put a clear coat on something so old and something so strong in materials underneath, it will yellow a little bit. And I like to go with that. As long as I've stopped the yellowing, I've put many clear coats on, I just like to go with where it is. The yellowing is showing age, and I like to go with that with the wax to enhance it and to bring out the age of the piece. So how I do this is just go in with the black wax in to create some shadowing in any of the detailed parts. Taking my time, I always do the black wax first. I do it in all the corners and any of the detail. And especially when you've got unique detail like a trunk, where, say here, you can just bring out the complete details of the locks, the mechanisms. It's just, I find amazing how just a little wax can just finish the product, the piece, and give it some drama, some personality. As I say, this, you'll always hear my enthusiasm, my excitement when doing waxing. As I say, I just love the artistic expression of just adding shadowing to pieces. And if you find, like I just did there, I put a little too much, just wipe it back and then just go in again. If you are a little afraid of putting too much wax or you're not used to wax, then make sure you add clear wax first in areas that you're going to be working on, because then it makes the wax a lot easier to work with. You can bring it back, you can bring it forward, the clear wax can help you erase mistakes easier. I don't use the clear wax unless I'm just only waxing. If I've put a clear coat on a piece, it doesn't need the clear wax. That only helps if you're not used to waxing. So as you can see, I'm just putting in some shadowing, some lines, some character going along. I'm just going to show you this top part here, this corner, and then I will be doing the whole piece, but you don't need to see me do the whole piece. I'm just going over all the detail parts with the black wax to give it some personality. And then I go back in with the brown wax, and I think this one's even my favourite part because this is definitely the last part. I just use a little kind of dollar store cheap little brush. I just find the right size I like to work with. The black wax, I use a slightly smaller brush than what I use for the brown. The brown wax, this gives age. I like to go over exactly where I put the black wax. I go back in with the brown, and the black gives it some depth, it gives it some shadowing, and the brown wax just going over it gives that shadowing and that depth some age, makes it look old. So it just gives it that brown, gives the black wax a little bit of a brown texture to make it look like it's been there a while and not just put on just a moment ago by me. So as I say, just go everywhere you did the black wax, just go in again and just go over the same areas with the brown. And it's just like painting a picture. If you're an artist, you'll find this really rewarding and very easy to do, because if you're painting a picture, you like to put shadows in your paintings. This is putting shadows into a piece. And then, as I say, you can use a cloth to wipe back any parts you're not loving. You can dab it, you can rub it, and just keep going. I like to go over any screws that are on there, and just keep adding some texture. Everywhere you go. Now this here I'm happy with, and this is what I'm going to do everywhere. Then when it's dry, the wax takes about 3 days to dry. Of course it takes 3 months to cure, so you don't, even if you're selling the piece, if you sell it before 3 months, let the customer know that don't use any damp rags or any chemicals to clean their piece of furniture, as the wax needs to cure, so any cleaning should just be a dry, lint-free cloth until the wax is totally cured. But there you go, take about 3 months to cure, as I say, but this is the last part. I'm going to put this everywhere on these pieces, and then it's finished, and I will be taking some staging display pictures, and I will put them at the end of this video. Just popping you up here. Thanks for watching this video. Watch straight to the end and you'll see the end results of these trunks. They both are similar but also very different characters, and I've brought out what I think is their personalities in each piece, and I hope you enjoyed and inspired to do some products and pieces of your own. And as I say, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Julie from Julie's Everything Treasures. Please do a thumbs up to the channel and also subscribe to the channel, because I've got many other pieces I'll be doing in the future, and there's also lots of videos to go back and watch on replay and watch them again. And at the end of this video, make sure you take the time to see the finished pieces. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I'm Julie from Julie's Everything Treasures. Have a great day.